work and I toil, when I sow in the soil I reap. I plant and I build and I tend to the fields and I sleep. Wealth I have gained, I've acquired some fame, but I grieve. Adventures I seek, I indulge in all things, but I still weep.
Hello and welcome to day 3 in our exploration of some of the themes found in the book of Ecclesiastes. The reading for today's reflection will be given by John Simmons, and a warning, folks, this is bleak stuff.
Suffering and oppression. Again I looked and saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of their oppressors, and they have no comforter. And I declare that the dead who had already died are happier than the living who are still alive. But better than both is he who has not yet been, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. And I saw that all labour and all achievement spring from man's envy of his neighbour. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. The fool folds his hands and ruins himself. Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Again I saw something meaningless under the sun. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business.
A question. Do you ever feel like the world is becoming a more difficult place to live? If you have been joining us for these readings this week, you will know by now that the book of Ecclesiastes does not shy away from looking at dark and difficult realities. As I suggested yesterday, in life, most of us will go through seasons of suffering. But most of us will eventually come out the other side and find some joy again. However, the teacher in Ecclesiastes perceives that there are many people who seem to live their whole lives struggling and suffering, perhaps due to ill health or severe loneliness or poor mental health, or because they have become oppressed by individuals or governments or nations. At one point, the teacher in Ecclesiastes says that for some people, it might have been better not to have been born at all than to have been born into a world of such suffering. There are people that feel that way. I wonder if it's any of you. On this passage in Ecclesiastes, the Old Testament scholar and Anglican priest Derek Kidner wrote, "Another aspect of earthly life has been exposed, and there is nothing sadder in the whole book than the wistful glances in verses 2 and 3 at the dead and the unborn who are spared the sight of so much anguish." Life can be so tough, and depending on what time in history or place in the world people live, life could have been much worse for us than it is. And in our day and age, through television and the internet and mass media, we are now able to access so much information from so far afield and so quickly. And a lot of that information is depressing. We can hear people's stories. Perhaps to some degree, we can also empathise. We can see their anguish. In the face of suffering, many of the authors in the New Testament endorse empathy and sympathy. The letter to the Hebrews states, "Remember those in prison as if you were bound with them, and those who are mistreated as if you were suffering with them." In the letter to the Romans, the church is encouraged to mourn with those who mourn. Speaking of the church as like a human body, the letter to the church in Corinth says, "If one part suffers, every part suffers with it." Obviously, being the minister of the church, this is part of the job. But since the start of the calendar year, I think that I have probably sat and talked with maybe 5 or 6 people who find life so painful at times that they question if they still want to do it. For those in despair, here and elsewhere in the world, let us do what we can to listen, to alleviate, to pray, to support.
I work and I toil when I sow in the soil I reap. I plant and I build and I tend to the fields and I sleep. Wealth I have gained, I've acquired some fame, but I grieve. Adventures I seek, I indulge in all things, but I still weep. All is vanity, as far as I can see. All is vanity. And now it's clear to me that generations come and generations go. The young never consider that they will be old. The sun rises and falls as the wind blows. Again and again as history unfolds. And if I chase the wind, if I follow the sun, I discover the place that I started from. If the pleasures I seek are just of my flesh, I am left to conclude all is meaningless. 'Cause generations come and generations go. For now I am young, but soon I'll be old. The sun rises and falls as the wind blows. Again and again and again and again.